microwave.
Shoot, paste pecani sauce to liven up any dip. I got a secret ingredient.
Hello. Hi. Howdy. So, before I say anything else, 300,000 subs. Wow, thank you. To those of you who are new, welcome. I haven't posted anything in about 7 months, so honestly, you probably don't give a crap about how many subs I have. You're probably just wondering who the hell this is and why you're subscribed to me. But, hello and welcome, regardless. And an extra thanks to everyone else who's been around and has stuck with me through the years of stupid memes and rambling bullshit. You guys are the real MVPs. I really appreciate it. So, thank you. Anyway, let's talk sauce. A month or so ago, I was on Twitch, just kind of hanging out, playing some Donkey Kong or whatever, shooting the breeze, and at one point the conversation turned to the topic of fandoms. And I said, hey chat, I'm curious. What do you think has the craziest fans ever? Doesn't have to be something that's popular right now, just Hall of Fame. What is the most unbearable, most toxic, most batshit fandom of all time? And you know, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like Sonic the Hedgehog, Bronies, Homestuck, Undertale, Super Hulock, all that stuff. Things you would typically expect. But then I got one answer that surprised me. Rick and Morty. And I was like, what? Rick and Morty? But I love Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty's great. And he goes, oh yeah, no, like they're super obnoxious, they're smug, they're always patting themselves on the ass about how smart they think they are, they try too hard, everything's a big circle jerk, blah blah blah. And it was at this point that I realized I had somehow managed to watch the entire series without ever once coming into contact with the fanbase or even really giving much thought to its existence at all. But I just shrugged. I mean, the guy did basically just describe like 90% of Reddit, so how bad could Rick and Morty fans really be? Well, several weeks later, October 7th, as you may know, McDonald's did a promotion where they brought back the Mulan Szechuan sauce that Rick raves about at the end of one of the episodes. They were even giving out posters with these like McDonald's corporate approved non-copyright infringing Happy McNugget sauce aliens on them, and people went fucking apeshit. You would think McDonald's was handing out fucking black tar heroin. At the time I'm recording this, packets of the sauce are selling for hundreds of dollars a piece on eBay. I even saw one listing where they were selling for $1,000. A single ounce of this sauce is worth as much as like 10 barrels of oil. What the fuck? Now, this was for one day only, and it was in very limited supply, as you could guess. And a lot of the people who wanted the sauce weren't able to get it. And they did not take it well, to say the least. My sauce! Get my sauce! Get my sauce! This was when I started to learn that Rick and Morty fans had actually been gaining a reputation as annoying jerks for quite a while. I saw a lot of navel-gazing on social media and even a few think pieces asking like, why does a cool show like Rick and Morty attract these jerk fans? I think there's some interesting stuff to discuss there, the main thing being how some people seem to treat Rick as their like personal Reddit Jesus. But mostly this just got me thinking about a much larger question, which is this. Really one of the timeless questions of the internet. Why are fandoms such trash? Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that. There are plenty of good things about fandoms. You have this great shared experience of enjoying something fun with other people. You make friends, you draw something or make a cool costume. Whatever, blah blah blah, all good stuff. So to state the obvious before I continue, I'm not talking shit about all fans. I am not even talking about most fans. I mean that both for Rick and Morty fans and for fans of other stuff. What I really mean to ask is more like problems endemic to pop culture fan communities, question mark. You know, for now, let's just stick with the less honest but snappier, why are fandoms such trash? And we'll just stick a little asterisk on there, disclaimer. Again, there are lots of people who are totally cool, you know who you are, I am not talking about you. So let me just say again, one last time, I am not talking about all fans. But at the same time, I noticed that there's always this experience when listening to people talk about stuff they like where they go, oh yeah, this thing is cool, but just look out because the fans are insane. It's as if people constantly feel the need to apologize for the behavior of other people who like their favorite thing. And the simple fact of the matter is there's usually a reason for it. The crazies are there. The zealots. Stubborn, obnoxious, selfish, smug, antagonistic. The ones who throw public tantrums, who kick up shit, who hurl threats and abuse, who just generally try to ruin your day or your life, and all in the name of entertainment. And often the hostility is aimed directly at the creators of the things that these people are supposed to be fans of. In my experience, you see this pretty consistently across most, if not all, fandoms of a particular size. Some are worse than others, depending on where you go. Sometimes the trash heap is a little bit bigger or a little bit stinkier, but it's always there. There's actually this great essay that was written by Harlan Ellison called Xenogenesis. And this was originally published in, I think, like 1990, but basically it's all just him talking about his own experiences with crazy fans, and he also shares some anecdotes written in by other well-known authors about their experiences with crazy fans. And it's really interesting because so much of it is so familiar even now, even though the essay is like 30 years old, and many of the stories and things in there are even older than that. To give you an example, he actually he shares a bunch of mean letters that people have written him, which basically read like YouTube comments. He mentions at one point how in 1960 someone called the cops and told them that his apartment was full of drugs and guns, and he actually got arrested over that. That's swatting. That's actually swatting. The dude got swatted in fucking 1960. That's before the first SWAT team even existed. That's pretty incredible. Briefly at the very end, he even mentions message boards as like this new thing. And it's just, in retrospect, it's like a punchline to the whole essay. It's like the writing on the walls of Pompeii. Like, you have no fucking idea. But the worst thing, there's this one really gross thing in there that is, it was a thing that happened to Alan Dean Foster, who, by the way, is like the nicest guy you'll ever meet, according to pretty much everybody. But he had this incident where he was at a con, and somebody came up to him and was like, yo, are you Alan Dean Foster? And then he was like, yeah. And then the dude threw a cup of warm puke in his face. Absolutely vile, disgusting, and it's so next level too, because it's like because of how premeditated it is. Like it's this multi-stage plan where you have to, like, it's not like somebody just walked up and slapped the dude, right? Like, you have to get a cup, you gotta make yourself puke, you gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, don't spill the puke. Hold on a second, wait. I think we got something here. What did I just say? It was like, you gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, you gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill, you gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, gotta aim the puke, you gotta catch the puke, can't spill the puke, gotta aim the puke. But anyway, yeah, so what is it? What's the deal? Why are fandoms such trash? There's a few different angles you can come at this from, I think. Some people just get over enthusiastic. Some people are just dicks, regardless of what they're fans of. You know, maybe some people allow pop culture and fiction to sort of displace certain aspects of their social life or identity in some way that's unhealthy. That's something that I kind of touched on a while ago, I think in like the waifu video probably. But For me, I think there's one main thing that really enables people's worst impulses in fandoms, and I'll tell you what it is. I think that as people spend time and energy on the things that they're fans of, they start to become possessed by a sort of weird sense of ownership over those things. And I don't mean that too literally. I don't think people are going to be like hiring copyright attorneys or some shit, but they get this attitude like they have some kind of special claim to the things they like just because they like them. And that feeling of ownership makes all the difference, because then when you act like a psycho, in your mind, you're not lashing out in aggression, you're just defending what's rightfully yours. I guess what I'm talking about is really just self-entitlement. People act like the world owes them shit that doesn't really belong to them. I mean, fucking look at this thing with the sauce. People act personally aggrieved by the fact that they didn't get this fucking free McNugget sauce. It's crazy. And it's not an isolated thing at all. This problem of excessive self-entitlement is everywhere in fandoms, and especially when you look at instances of notably psychotic fan behavior. I'll give you a fairly well-known example to start us off. Let's look at Steven Universe. Oh boy. So, apparently, just to give you a bit of background here, apparently it all started a while back when it was revealed that two of the characters are lesbians. And, you know, that's fine. All good so far. But then, oh no, here comes Tumblr. Like fucking Godzilla. Here it comes. Tumblr's coming out of the ocean. Ah, Tumblr! And I don't want to turn this into another rant about Tumblr, because God knows I've done enough of that already, but yeah, I don't know. This site is a nightmare that I can't wake up from. But anyway, so Tumblr comes along, and you know, they do what they do. Suddenly, people are making all kinds of grand declarations about like who's allowed to cosplay certain characters, and who's allowed to be part of the fandom, and who's allowed to watch the show, and blah blah blah. And there was this well-known incident where an artist, a teenage girl who was a fan of the show, drew some characters who Tumblr decided that she did not draw them in a way that was sufficiently fat or POC. And so she was branded as a racist and a fat shamer. And people threw so much bile at her over this that she actually attempted suicide. That's goddamn insane. Right? I mean, like, I'll put some of the drawings in the video. They look fine to me. I don't see a problem. I mean, it's not like she drew them in fucking Nazi uniforms or something. I mean, even if she did, it's like, who the fuck cares? It's not real. It's her prerogative as the artist to do what she wants. It's not up to you. I'll draw fucking Charles Bronson chopping Pikachu's head off with a samurai sword. Doesn't hurt anybody. Who the fuck cares? I don't know. It's so dumb. It's so dumb when people, like, try to claim ownership of fictional characters they didn't even create. Like, oh my god, like, I remember this one time I was 15 when one of my friends, honest to god, threatened to beat the shit out of me because we both liked the same anime girl. It was over AIM too, so like I didn't even realize, as I was like taunting him the whole time, and I didn't even realize that he was getting legitimately pissed off. He was like, I can beat you up, I'm bigger than you. I'm like, what the fuck do you think this is? Oh, I must defend her honor. Fucking badass coming through. I am not friends with that guy anymore. But yeah, anyway, so an entitlement, right? I see this sometimes even in my own YouTube channel. I'm not arrogant enough to pretend that I have anything you could remotely call a fandom, but even I have people sub to me who occasionally will post these nasty comments acting like it's my goddamn job to create more Yahoo Answers videos. And I don't mean the people who are like, oh, these are funny, you should do more. That lots of people say stuff like that, that's fine. I appreciate that, but I mean some people are just straight up fucking rude. Like, all your other videos are shit, dead channel, let's go, more pregnant, chop chop. Amuse me, peon. Like, whoa. Excuse me, your highness. Let me just get right on that for you. Don't get me wrong, I like the reading videos. They're fun to do, and I'm grateful for all the attention they get, but some of the reactions are just baffling. Anyway, getting back to the topic at hand, where things start to get really weird is when this type of stuff extends beyond fiction and creative works and into the world of actual people. There's this thing I was reading about, in fact, just while I was putting together the notes for this video. I don't know how active these people are anymore, but apparently there was a pretty big segment of One Direction fans who somehow got the idea into their heads that two of the guys in the group were secretly in a gay relationship with each other. I can only assume this must have started out as some harmless /fic fantasy thing, but then people, I guess, liked it so much that they started believing it was actually real. And they became so possessed by this, it reached such an insane fever pitch that it actually evolved into this, like, deranged conspiracy theory. To the point where when one of the guys had a kid, they started claiming that the baby was fake. You can look it up. People have spent all this time compiling all this fucking supposed evidence. The baby's a doll, it's CG, everything's photoshopped, all the paparazzi shots are setups. The whole record company and the publicist and fucking whoever, everyone's all in on it. It's all just a big conspiracy to hide his secret love for the other dude. And people actually harass the mom and other people who they think are in on the plot. It's fucking nuts. I mean, this dude is not a cartoon character. He's just some guy. You don't know him. It's like, give the dude and his family a fucking break, right? Even if he was gay and wanted to keep it a secret, it's none of your damn business. I talk a lot in my videos about how fantasy is harmless, right? And if fantasy is just a fantasy, it's not real. It's not that big of a deal. But some people seem to get this idea in their heads sometimes that their fantasy is so huge and important that it trumps the autonomy of the people they fantasize about. It's really strange. One thing this makes me think about a lot is the Japanese idol fandom, which might sound weird. It's probably something that not a lot of people watching this know about, but I bring it up because that is a swamp that I was personally in. I used to be in a morning musume when I was a teenager, and I kind of like some AKB stuff. And if you want to talk about fans who feel entitled to invade people's personal lives, yeah. A lot of people get very cynical about it. They're like, it's all misogynist exploitation, blah, blah, blah. I don't go that far, but there are some aspects of it that are pretty weird. A big part of the idol package is selling a fantasy to lonely men, right? The industry is primarily driven by otaku. These are mostly adult men with an income, but no wife, no children, and no ambitions to put that money into. They're the ones buying the merchandise. These are the guys buying 10 copies of every CD, and so great pains are taken to avoid alienating them. Part of that is that idols are strictly not allowed to date. If you do and you get caught, you will be permanently stained in the eyes of the fans. It is a huge scandal that will destroy your career. A well-known example here, a few years ago, there was this girl from AKB48 who was caught by paparazzi leaving her boyfriend's apartment. And this raised such a shitstorm that she shaved her head in an act of penance and put out this incredibly disturbing apology video where she cries and begs the fans for forgiveness. It is one of the most fucked up things I honestly think I've ever seen. If you didn't know what she was saying, you'd think she was being held hostage by, ISIS or some shit. I mean, for Christ's sake, this is a 20-year-old woman. What the fuck kind of mentally defective reprobate judges a 20-year-old woman for having a boyfriend? It's fucking insanity. And you really see the cognitive dissonance here, too, when you look at how sex appeal is such a huge part of the marketing for idols. They even sell these cheesecake photo books and DVDs where the girls pose in skimpy outfits and swimsuits and stuff. But no sex. No sex. No boyfriend, no dates. Dungeon. 7 years dungeon, no sex. We have to pander to your fantasy that she's specially reserved for you. It's not all bad news, though. Starting in the 1980s, according to Wikipedia, idols, while still tightly controlled, have been increasingly allowed to show more of their actual personalities and were permitted to release some carefully scripted outbursts. # progress. I mentioned Morning Musume before. I have had a really bad crush on Reina Tanaka since I was like 16. That's 10 years, man. That is a creepy long time. But here's the thing, is that even I don't care to know the details of her sex life. She's 27 now. Has she ever been with a guy? Yeah, probably. So what? She could be blowing some dude right now for all I know. And if she is, hey, honestly, good for her, really. Round of applause. Who knows? Maybe she's as pure as the driven snow. Maybe she's saving her virginity for a divorce. I don't know. The point is, it's none of my damn business. I think she's cute. She's not my wife. I don't even fucking know her. Just because I bought a CD, that doesn't mean that I own some kind of equity stake in her vagina. I just don't see why I should care unless I've got some kind of deluded notion in my head that she's mine somehow just because I happen to like her. I've got my own sex life to worry about. I have a girlfriend who's probably gonna stab me when she sees this. I don't know. People are so weird about sex, man. I mean in general, right? Like, not even with this fandom shit. It doesn't have to be so complicated. It's pretty simple, really. We got some simple axioms. Just be cool, be safe, no kids, no animals, and you're good. And also no NTR. See? Easy. Anyway, we have wandered off the path here. We are lost in the woods right now. Literally, I am lost in the woods. I've been eating nothing but rocks and dirt for 3 days. What is this video about again? McNugget sauce. Right. So, yes. I guess let's wrap this up with a bit of moral grandstanding. So, when I was a young lad, I was brought up by my dad into an old-fashioned masculine ethos that basically amounts to one sentence. The world doesn't owe you shit. You got food, you got a bed, you got a roof over you, and you have those things not because you're entitled to them, but because you're lucky. Nothing in this world is really yours unless you earn it fair and square or you build it with your own two hands. The world doesn't owe you shit. He always really drilled that into my head, and it stuck. You know, maybe it sounds harsh, but there's a lot of virtue in it. It's not some Randian social Darwinist thing. It's just about maintaining a sense of humility and gratitude about the nice things that you're afforded in life. It made a real impression on me, and it's something that I'm still holding on to even now. So, when I see people whose sphere of entitlement has ballooned so far to the point that it encompasses something like fucking McNugget sauce, or other people's creative works, or even aspects of their personal lives, it's just dumbfounding. It actually pisses me off. And if there's one aspect of fandom that I wish we could dial back, this is it. It is the plague of entitlement. And, you know, I understand. I get it. I'm a big dork. I put a lot of my time and energy into video games and anime and other pop culture bullshit. When you really like something and you put a lot of yourself into it, it starts to feel like a part of you in some ways. You want to hold on to it. You want to protect it. That's fine. But, you know, you got to keep that shit in perspective. At the end of the day, it is a privilege. It's not something that you have a personal right to. I mean, really, it's true. The world doesn't owe you shit. It sure as hell doesn't fucking owe you some fucking sugary ketchup from McDonald's. Anyway. That's my piece, I guess. See ya, Space Cowboy.